about that, and they heard us, and they met the moment.
Major breakthroughs in several ongoing labor fights across the West. From Hollywood to the Vegas Strip, workers are securing new contracts. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Alex Savage. TV and movie production is poised to restart after the nearly 4-month-long actors' strike came to an end earlier today. The SAG-AFTRA union says the gains made in this tentative deal with the studios justify that lengthy work stoppage. The 3-year agreement is valued at more than $1 billion. The specifics of the deal won't be made public until it's reviewed by union members tomorrow, although negotiators say it raises minimum pay, increases residual payments for streaming shows, and establishes new rules for artificial intelligence.
We're already thinking about what we're going to be working on for the next contract, because in a negotiation, you don't get everything. But there was so much meat on the bone that we did get. We spoke out. We ignited a workers' movement around the world. It rang like a bell and landed in the ears of the AMPTP. They heard us, and they met the moment.
Economists say the actors' strike and the writers' strike that ended in late September have cost the industry about $5 billion. Those work stoppages also affected makeup artists, local businesses, and restaurants. Union members say the new deal is a huge relief.
We've been working so hard. We've been out there every day, and we've become a family, but also, we want to get back to work.
The agreement must now be approved by SAG-AFTRA's board and members. If a majority of members vote to ratify the contract, that strike will officially end. And in Las Vegas, the union representing hotel workers has reached a deal with the largest employer on the Strip just one day before a planned strike. Today, the Culinary Workers Union announced this tentative 5-year agreement with MGM Resorts. It covers about 25,000 employees. This deal comes one day after the union agreed on a tentative contract with Caesars. Union leaders are continuing to negotiate with Wynn Resorts. Since April, the union has been pushing for a new 5-year contract that includes pay increases and safety improvements.
Our city is doing the best that it's ever done. Our companies are doing the best that they have ever done. And we just feel that it's our time that we share that wealth. And so all we're asking is for our due share of what we've produced here in Las Vegas.
The breakthrough in this ongoing labor dispute comes as hundreds of thousands of visitors are set to arrive in Las Vegas for next week's Formula One Grand Prix races. Kaiser employees have voted to ratify a new contract with the hospital chain, ending the largest healthcare workers' strike in U.S. history. The union of more than 85,000 workers approved that 4-year contract. A tentative agreement was reached back on October 13th after acting U.S. Labor Secretary Julie Su got involved in negotiations to bridge the gap on some key issues. The new contract includes across-the-board wage increases totaling 21% over 4 years. The deal also addresses a staffing crisis and issues of patient safety. In Oregon, Portland public school students won't be returning to classrooms this week. The district announced schools would remain closed today, and with Friday as teachers continue their strike, it has now been 8 days since educators took to the picket lines. Some students say they were caught off guard by the strike, but others say their teachers made it clear they plan to take action.
For me, half our teachers talked about the strike almost daily. They prepared us pretty well. The day before, they had us clean out our lockers.
District officials met with the teachers union today, describing those discussions as productive. Meetings are expected to continue every day through the weekend. The district says its top priority is resuming classes on Monday. In Southern California, red flag conditions continue to increase the threat of wildfires there. Earlier today, a 5-acre brush fire destroyed a home in Topanga Canyon, just outside Los Angeles. This fire was pushed by whipping Santa Ana winds overnight. No evacuations were ordered, but the utility, SoCal Edison, says it shut off power in Las Flores Canyon in eastern Malibu just as a precaution. And east of Los Angeles, a fire broke out dangerously close to the 15 freeway in Jurupa Valley earlier today. This shut down traffic along the freeway in both directions for several miles. Once the smoke cleared here, all of the lanes on that freeway were reopened. The fire burned about 36 acres and it's 40% contained at last check. For more now on the winds there in Southern California and conditions across the West, let's bring in KTVU meteorologist Mark Tamayo. Hey, Mark.
Hi there, Alex. Yeah, it's those dry offshore winds we do not like to see, especially this time of year. So here's the satellite picking up on some cloud cover up in the San Francisco Bay Area. Clear skies down in Southern California, but those winds really ramping up offshore today. In fact, one of the stronger gusts you can see in the San Gabriel Mountains, a wind gust of 82 miles an hour. That's at a pretty high elevation of over 4,000 feet. But the red flag fire warning has been allowed to expire. Taking a look at some other wind gusts throughout the day, from 21 to 48 to 54 miles an hour in Malibu earlier this afternoon. As we show you the forecast model with fire danger, this takes into account the winds and also the dry conditions. You can see some of the coverage for today. So this is tonight, and then into your Friday, we should have improving conditions, kind of a change in the wind direction, so that should help out. So the red flag fire warning was in place, but it has been allowed to expire at 6 o'clock. Those winds will continue to back off, and at least the moisture levels will continue to improve as well. So at least heading in the right direction in the Friday forecast. Alex.
Mark, thank you. Election workers are on edge tonight in several West Coast states after a number of elections offices received suspicious letters, some of them containing fentanyl. They were mailed to elections offices in California, Nevada, Oregon, and Washington. In Washington, offices were evacuated in King, Pierce, Skagit, and Spokane counties. One of those suspicious letters read in part, "End elections now." Fox 13's Alejandro Guzman has more tonight on the investigation that involves the FBI and the Postal Service.
Days after Election Day are typically very busy processing days for us.
Machines hard at work scanning ballots before the verification process starts, a usual sight across election offices in Washington. It all came to a halt around 10:30 Wednesday morning in Pierce County.
Worker who opened a regular old number 10 envelope that happened to have some white powder in it. The worker took off her glove inside out to preserve the powder.
Pierce County Auditor Linda Farmer says the employee's instincts kicked in, remembering protocols. 911 was called, and about 100 staff members evacuated the building. Hazmat crews arrived on scene testing the substance. It came back positive for baking soda. King County Election Headquarters also received a suspicious letter and had to evacuate their building.
So we saw the white powder as it was opened. It's immediately isolated by our staff with a hazmat bucket.
In theirs, something more serious was discovered. Renton police say a presumptive test was done. The powder-like substance had traces of fentanyl, but what was in the package is still unknown.
Officers said that the envelope wasn't fully open, so we don't know whether there's a note inside it or not. It was only open far enough for the worker to realize quite wisely that it wasn't something that she wanted to mess with further.
The envelope taken into evidence, which will be examined further by the FBI. Spokane and Skagit counties also received similar mail. Officials in Spokane say their substance also had traces of fentanyl. How much is unclear, but none posed a threat. Election workers say getting into this, they know what to expect, but it's still unsettling.
It's disappointing, but you know, in the climate that we're in, a lot of things nowadays are very disappointing. We're going into a presidential election. Things are only going to get crazier, possibly, hopefully not. But you know, getting into this, you kind of know what to expect.
Washington Secretary of State Steve Hobbs said precautions have been taken to keep employees and visitors safe. In a statement, he said in part, quote, "These incidents underscore the critical need for stronger protections for all election workers. Democracy rests upon free and fair elections. These incidents are acts of terrorism to threaten our elections."
And that was Fox 13's Alejandro Guzman reporting for us tonight. At this point, authorities say there's no word on a motive here related to these letters or on any arrests that have been made. Former Arizona Senator Martha McSally says she was sexually assaulted while running. McSally says this happened Wednesday along the Missouri River near the border of Nebraska and Iowa. She posted a message on social media detailing the attack.
A man came up behind me and he engulfed me in a bear hug, and he molested and fondled me until I fought him off. I ran after him, I threw my water bottle at him, and I chased him into the brush, where he was then hiding as I called 911 and waited for the police to come.
She went on to say she is okay and believes the man got away before police arrived. McSally has been open about a past experience being sexually assaulted while in the military. She says this time she felt like she took her power back by fighting back. In Arizona, authorities arrested a man they say set off an explosion right outside of a police department. This happened Tuesday in the town of Benson, about 45 miles southwest of Tucson. Police say surveillance video shows William Baggers pulling up in a car outside the station and throwing what looked like a bottle with smoke coming from it. No one was hurt in that explosion. Officers arrested Baggers not far from the scene. He's now facing charges of engaging in an act of terrorism. Protesters fought outside of the Museum of Tolerance in Los Angeles. About 200 people were there for a film screening organized by Wonder Woman actress Gal Gadot. She served in the Israeli Defense Forces as a combat trainer before getting into acting. That 47-minute film features footage of brutal Hamas attacks committed during the initial invasion of Israel back on October 7th. Outside the museum, demonstrators waved flags and got into shouting matches before eventually being dispersed as the event ended. Los Angeles police say no one was arrested there. In San Francisco, preparations are kicking into high gear for the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit that gets underway this weekend. Workers are building an 8-foot fence around the Moscone Convention Center, which is one of the primary sites to host Apec. The event is expected to draw more than 20,000 visitors and will include world leaders like President Biden and Chinese President Xi Jinping. Apec is likely to bring an estimated $53 million into the local economy. The summit is also going to be a huge inconvenience for those who live, work, or travel near those event venues.
Street closures and roadblocks and a number of motorcades and other things, those are things that we need to make adjustments for.
The Moscone Convention Center is one of the so-called red security zones where everyone is going to have to go through security in order to enter. Police will also be out in full force for the event to help with security around Apec and the daily protests it's expected to draw.
I messed up. What I did was really bad. I'm so sorry. I didn't get more of them.
Coming up tonight on West Coast Wrap, the federal trial now underway for the man accused of attacking Nancy Pelosi's husband. The audio played for jurors today, and the defense strategy one expert says that his team may use. Also, the New Mexico State men's basketball season was canceled last year after several players were accused of abuse. After the break tonight, the legal action taken against those former players. Three former New Mexico State men's basketball players are facing a number of criminal charges accused of sexually assaulting their teammates last year. The allegations of locker room hazing led to the team being disbanded. New Mexico's Attorney General says the three former players have been charged with several felonies, including criminal sexual penetration, false imprisonment, criminal sexual contact, and conspiracy. The alleged abuse happened between August and November of last year. The former players are facing between 24 and 27 years in prison if they're convicted. A federal trial is underway in San Francisco for the man who's accused of breaking into the home of Congresswoman Nancy Pelosi and attacking her husband with a hammer. The day began with federal prosecutors playing graphic police body camera video showing David DePape lunging at Paul Pelosi with a hammer back in October of 2022. He suffered a fractured skull in that attack. Then, in her opening statement, public defender Jody Linker said her client will not contest the evidence, and she argued her client's desire to kidnap Nancy Pelosi had nothing to do with her duties as a congresswoman, which is the basis for the assault and attempted kidnapping charges. His defense attorney says DePape was obsessed by a theory that wealthy elitists are abusing children and hoped to use Pelosi to end the alleged conspiracy.
They're taking the only opening that they have in this particular case. And that opening is, well, he didn't do it to dissuade Pelosi from doing her official duties.
After the opening statements, the jury today heard from the San Francisco police officers who responded to the attack. They testified they heard DePape ranting about the lies coming out of Washington as he was taken into custody. DePape has pleaded not guilty to those federal charges, as well as to separate charges filed in state court. California's Death Valley is one of the hottest and driest places on Earth. But right now, the national park has a lake. It's a phenomenon that hasn't been seen in years. The body of water was formed back in late August when the remnants of Hurricane Hillary dropped over 2 inches of rain on the park in a 24-hour period. That sparked flash flooding, damaged the park's roads, and prompted a prolonged park closure. But it also created a lake at the lowest point in North America, 282 feet below sea level.
Back in geologic history, during the ice ages, there was a lake here that was 700 feet deep that was called Lake Manly. And so some people will say this is Lake Manly reincarnated.
This latest reincarnation isn't quite as deep, about 9 inches at the center of it, and it is getting shallower by the day. Well, we are seeing record-breaking temperatures all across the globe, and now we see this once-in-a-generation phenomenon happening in the Southern California desert. Let's bring back in KTVU meteorologist Mark Tamayo with the forecast across the west. And Mark, it includes a lot of rain.
Yeah, possibly a lot of rain, so maybe some more rain for Death Valley next week. There's a pretty strong signal as we take a look at the long-range maps here. A lot of green over a good portion of the west coast. So with that, we're going to bump up the rainfall potential into next week. The timing and the exact rainfall amount still a bit fuzzy, but it looks like possibly significant rainfall into next week. Has been somewhat of a cloudy day, and tracking some rain showers up in the Pacific Northwest. Seattle today, 50 degrees, lots of cloud cover, and closer to the Bay Area, Oakland, you can see temperatures in the mid-60s. Looking out towards San Francisco, some of those high clouds drifting in throughout the afternoon hours, and lots of sunshine in Denver, but still on the cooler side with a high today of only 50 degrees. So here's the overall weather setup. There is a frontal band moving up in the Pacific Northwest. This will be a little bit more evenly distributed into next week over the North Coast, toward the Bay Area, down towards Southern California as well. Here is some of the green showing up on the radar for Northern California. You can still see the rainfall and possibly some snow showers up toward Portland, and also moving into portions of Washington as well. So this is where we have the most active weather showing up on the radar. Also the cool weather as well. Currently it's 37 degrees in Spokane, 29 degrees in Denver, San Francisco right now 57, and Los Angeles, San Diego, and Palm Springs in the 60s. So this will keep things unsettled up to the north for tomorrow. Temperatures in the 50s. More clouds in Northern California. We have at least calmer conditions. At least we back off on those strong winds in Southern California. Still lots of sunshine in the 70s, and sunny and cool out toward Denver. Here's the forecast model once again. This is your Friday forecast. Possibly some rain closer to Seattle tomorrow afternoon, and some clouds moving into Northern California. Into the weekend, the main storm track is anchored up here, but into next week, we could see more of an active weather pattern across a good portion of the west coast. So here's the plan for tomorrow. There's that rain cloud for Seattle, a few extra clouds for San Francisco, a string of sunny symbols for Denver, pretty much the same story for Los Angeles, and even Phoenix back up into the lower 80s as we head into the weekend, but still tracking that potential pattern change and maybe more significant rainfall in the forecast for next week. Alex.
All right, we'll be ready for it. Mark, thank you. The governor of Colorado is calling a special session to address property taxes. A measure aimed at lowering taxes failed on election night, with more than 60% of voters rejecting it. Opponents argued the measure could ultimately cost taxpayers more money than they would save on their property taxes by reducing some refunds. Today, Governor Jared Polis used a baseball bat to smash a glass case, announcing this special session.
This crisis is not urban or rural, Denver or the state. It's universal across our state. It's truly a Colorado crisis. A reflection of the overall high cost.
Governor Polis said the General Assembly will be meeting a week from tomorrow. He's asking the legislature to provide relief for Coloradans who are at risk of receiving 40 to 50% increases on their property tax bills due to increased property value assessments.
We hope there's a great economic benefit in Las Vegas.
Coming up tonight on West Coast Wrap, we're just a week away now from the start of the Las Vegas Grand Prix. We'll tell you about the economic impact this unique event could have on the city's economy. Plus, more than $2 billion spent to construct the Sphere in Las Vegas. We'll tell you about the recent financial filings that show it could take a long time for the business to break even. The Sphere is one of the flashiest attractions in Las Vegas, but some new financial statements could cause the venue to lose some of its luster. Filings by Sphere Entertainment Company with the Securities and Exchange Commission show the Sphere with an operating loss of $98.4 million for the fiscal quarter ending September 30th. The Globe's operator says despite these losses, it has brought in nearly $8 million in revenue. Officials say half of that came from events, while the rest came from ads. Las Vegas is, of course, considered one of the entertainment capitals of the world, and next week it's going to host a Formula One race that cuts right through the Las Vegas Strip. It's an event many say is momentous, even for Las Vegas. Sunny Sai has more tonight on what race fans can expect.
There will be 105,000 people, so the sheer scale of it, even for Las Vegas, will be the largest event Las Vegas will have.
And that's just at the race itself. Hundreds of thousands are expected to visit Las Vegas next week to be a part of the race experience, even if they don't have tickets to the race.
There'll be elements at the Sphere. There's a launch party from Wednesday to Sunday, almost a week of events and musical acts. You know, you're seeing sports figures from other sports having their own kind of viewing parties.
The CEO of Liberty Media, which owns Formula One, says great experiences come at great costs.
A lot of that comes from, frankly, costs that are not entirely ours. Not begrudging our partners, but 5-night minimums in hotels and things like that help push up the cost, right? Not all of it's just the pricing of the tickets. The experience of that, and frankly, the fact that there's so much demand is what drives it.
Maffei says the money spent on the race is a long-term investment in Las Vegas. There is already a permanent paddock built in the city that will offer year-round experiences.
This will be the largest paddock club and facility, and all the garages will be the largest one anywhere that goes on in F1.
The ongoing construction and road closures over the last year have interrupted some Las Vegans' daily routines. But Maffei hopes the overall economic boost F1 will bring to the city can make up for some of the inconvenience.
So I want to apologize to all the Las Vegas residents, and we appreciate that their forbearance and their willingness to tolerate us. We're going to bring something like $1.7 billion of revenue to the area. So it's not just for the benefit of fans who want to view. We hope there's a great economic benefit in Las Vegas. We hope this is the most difficult year with all the construction that went on, and things will be easier in the future.
And that was Sunny Sai reporting for us. In California, the Highway Patrol says a Palisades Tahoe worker was killed in a crash that involved a snowmobile. The resort says the death happened during overnight snowmaking operations. The man was taken to Tahoe Forest Hospital in the nearby town of Truckee, where he died. Palisades Tahoe says it is cooperating with local authorities. And that does it for West Coast Wrap tonight. We appreciate you watching. You can stay up to date on all the stories we're covering online. All you have to do is head to our website. It's westcoastwrap.com. Have a great night. We'll see you back here tomorrow night.